Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. It's Sipo here. Thank you very much for everyone who's joining me for the first time. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will have subscribed. And the ones that have already subscribed, thank you so much to everyone. I appreciate it, and hopefully everyone will stick to the tribe, or rather to the family, as we gradually grow. So I know I haven't posted for such a long time. Yes, it feels like it has been such a long time. However, it's not. It's just been like, you know, a few weeks. And reason being is because I have been swamped, guys, like to the T. I have been so busy. And I don't know. I feel like, thank God for this 21 days. It's a blessing in disguise because I've been able to do things that I had put aside for such a long time. And it has really just made me also realign with everything that I want to do and execute quietly. Like the quietness is just amazing. And it's just giving me such an ease also to, you know, put everything that I want to do in place properly. And yeah, I just want today or tonight, I'm currently filming at night, yes. That's my life, like the way I'm so busy, guys. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, as I said, it's at night, and I felt like this is the best time I can actually have some quiet time and do this. And I'm coming to you with a message of just, this whole situation that we are having in the country right now, the lockdown. Um, yes, it is such a sensitive time because not only has it brought fear into people, they're also stressed, they're also not sure of what it means for the business future. And like going forward, they still don't know even when it's gonna end, the lockdown that is. So with everything else that's happening, so everyone is just uncertain in terms of they don't know when we're gonna go back to normality. The fear that's just on people's minds and how they're doing things. Like everyone, guys, out there is just fearful, and it's so sad, actually, when you get to see that in such a short time of what has been happening, everyone has been put under such circumstances, and some are able to cope with it, some are not. So, with this whole thing, if you heard me when I started, I said, thank God for this 21 days. It's a blessing in disguise. For me, literally, that's how it has worked out. And at first, I was like, oh, whoa, what does this mean? But then God just showed me that, hey, sometimes how you plan things is not how they're going to work out. And then when it's like that, what then do you do? Right? And with that said, I automatically, my mind just switched into another level of thinking, where it just made me remember way back into another video I had put up already. If you haven't seen it, you can just go through my previous videos where I was talking about becoming a wise master builder. And in there, I had shared actually information, or rather advice, as to if you want to become a wise master builder, how are you supposed to be building as a person? Not only are you a brand as a person, but like your life as a whole, you need to have a plan surrounding it as to how you want to execute the visions you have. There has to be a plan in place. You cannot just dream and not have a plan. So basically, I just want to say with everything that's happening or anything that might happen in your life, because the COVID-19 situation, it could have been any other situation that you might deal with or challenge that you might deal with, in life. But it needs us to just realign our thought processes. It needs us to realign, or rather re-strategize in terms of what it is that you had initially put in place and what now, compared to what now you are faced with. So with that said, for me, this whole process just made me realize, you know what, the will of God actually always prevails, no matter what situation you're faced with, no matter the circumstances that you're faced with, the will of God always prevails. Because right now, in as much as the situation that we're faced with is stressful, we are now able to have time for things that we didn't have time for. We are now forced to think about things that we didn't have time to think about. For example, family. Now we are more, you know, and knitted together. We have to have, like, we get to have meals together, on the dining table, and have share conversations, whereas everyone would come back, run about, knocking off time from work. Everyone is tired, they do their own thing, or rather have supper and then go to bed. But now you are forced to literally have conversations around the dining table, if not the dining table, as you're watching whatever program you're watching. It is really just made families grow stronger or more closer to one another. Now you're more aware of your surrounding. You're more aware of what's happening around you. And in all of that, it's making you plan more on how you can make sure that you achieve everything you want to achieve in the space that you actually find yourself in. So making sure that you have a way to deal with the situation you are faced with, in a positive way. And this also just applies on our daily life and also plans that we have. As I said, going back to the video or post that I had made earlier, I think it was Fab, where I said, sometimes when you have put plans in place, you might be faced, or rather, in those plans, you might put a time frame and say, let's say, 3 months' time, you want to achieve a certain goal, or you have plans of having achieved something in a specific way that you want to execute it. And down the line, you are faced with a challenge that's actually going to affect your plan on, or rather, how you want to execute whatever plan it is that you have. Now, what do you do in that process? You are forced to do nothing else but re strategize and realign yourself, or rather your plans, according to the situation that you find yourself in. So similarly, with what we are faced with as a country, as families, or as businesses, because this not only affects families, communities, it affects also the businesses that we have. So it means that we have to re-strategize. If you were a person that was primarily dependent on going out there meeting people for your daily job, now you're forced to look at other means of how can you connect with those people. And in the long run, or in the process of it all, it makes you also learn more, of those spheres that you can actually break into without having to confide yourself in one specific space. So, for example, if you are a person that is always on the road for marketing your business or doing deliveries, all of that, now you're forced to look into the internet. It's there. You can socialize. You can create groups there. You can create, a way of marketing yourself more online rather than focusing on publicly going out there or meeting people face to face. Those are just some of, like, few tips that one can look into but on the bigger scale, or a bigger or rather having a bigger scale and a bigger picture in mind as you will be executing those plans. So that is why I get to a point where I literally just say, guys, in everything that is happening in our lives, God has a way of just making everything come into a success, or rather becoming what you initially wanted it to be. It may not be the way you initially wanted it to be, or rather, initially the way you had planned it to be laid out. But in the process of it all, you are forced to learn, or rather, adapt in the situation that you find yourself in. So it is not all gone to waste. And I just want to say that most people are finding themselves more fearful rather than having to find themselves digging deeper within themselves as to what does this mean then for me as an individual, what does this mean for me as like for my company, or whatever business that it is that you find yourself in. So I just want to motivate everyone out there to say, do not despair. Yes, it might not work according to how you had initially planned it, but it is definitely going to work out to the way it's supposed to be. Or rather, if you were supposed to finish at F and you had planned it that it must go according to A, B, C, D, now in the process of you having to achieve A and B, and then something else happens in the process, it doesn't mean it will end up on Earth. It will end up on F, but now it means maybe you will be having to look into other ways or other means or other directions that you would have to use to get to that endpoint. It doesn't mean that you won't get to your endpoint. You will definitely end up there, but now you're forced to just look at things in a different way, or a different perspective, or make means with what you are given. There's a saying that says, when life gives you lemons, what do? You make lemonade. So, literally, with what you're given at this point in time, look at it. What is it that God wants you to do? Are you forced? Is God forcing you to look into the circles that you're finding yourself in? Are they conducive for you? Number one. Are they pushing you towards the goal that you want to achieve? Number two. And me as an individual, am I focusing on the right things in life for me to get to where I need to be? And if I have been doing the right things all along, now that there has been this hiccup, what does it mean? Does it mean now I'm forced to do an introspection? Usually people say, when you have started a plan in the beginning of the year, and as the time goes, 6 months down the line, you usually say, okay, 6 months time, I will just revisit every plan of mine and see whether how far I've gone. And with how far I've gone, have I achieved everything that I wanted to achieve in the appropriate time I had initially put in place? If not, how am I supposed to improve on actually making sure that I get to my final point? And if I haven't, what is it that I need to, change up until I get to that final point? So it's just that now the process has been changed. It's not in 6 months' time. You have been forced to look into those plans, or revisit those plans, or re strategize from the initial plan you had earlier than the time you had initially set in place. So it's not a failing point, but it is a point of you just re strategizing, because I tell you, from now on, going forward, it is on your marks, get set, and let's go. When everything gets to normality, you will have to push to a point where you actually find everything just falling in place, without you even having to struggle, because you've been given this time. So this time that you've been given, use it to your advantage. Use it to re-strategize. Use it to realign your thoughts. Use it to bond with your family more, because you don't know at the moment where everything gets to normality, you might find yourself on the road more. You might find yourself working more, where it will not allow you to have more time with your family. So the time you've been given now, use it to your advantage. Work out plans that you know when you are back to normality, you will not have time to make those plans. So this has not all gone to waste. With that said, I say everything with humility in mind, bearing in mind, or rather putting in my heart and prayers, and in my prayers, the people that are infected and those that are affected. So with everything that is happening, we do not need to feel like it is the end of the world, or it will never get better. Trust me, it can only get better. If we are here as a country, or if we are here as as individuals, in whatever plans we have, from this point going forward, it can only get better. So, with that said, I just want to say, do not worry, somebody. From here going forward, it can only get better, and the will of God definitely will prevail. So, with that said, so everyone, I know it is not nice with the time that we are in. However, work with what you're given. That which you're given is not a mistake, because God knows the plan in place. So, with that said, so thank you very much for everyone who has come through or still gonna be listening through. And please comment down below, leave your comments, and also any future ideas that you have that you want me to look into. And also, yeah, the most important thing, please do subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend that there is this channel and that they have to actually join it. So tell everyone to come and subscribe, join the family. With that said, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this message, and hopefully it helps someone out there. Most importantly, that's why we're here, that it may help someone out there. I speak from an experience because I too know I am benefiting from what I just said. Thank you very much. Goodbye.